6 months ago I uploaded my most controversial video yet, and by controversial I mean a video that apparently rubbed some people the wrong way, and they were not shy to tell me in the comment section. The topic at hand was Sony Bend's upcoming open world survival game Days Gone. Because a lot has changed since then and a whole bunch of new footage and information have been released, I decided to take another look at the game and hopefully clear up some things regarding my Days Gone video in the process. To be honest, I still believe nothing of what I said in regards to Days Gone is controversial in the least. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people simply misunderstood the premise of my video, which is partly their own fault, but partly I also blame myself for it. Some people clearly didn't pay attention to what I said whatsoever and felt personally attacked because I dared to say something negative about a game they haven't even played yet. Be that as it may, this time I'll be vigilant to present my stance towards Days Gone more clearly. In case you never watched my Days Gone video or need a quick reminder, here's a small summary. I was trying to conduct a little thought experiment. I asked myself, since the first reveal of Days Gone, how has the game been received online? One of the first things you're gonna notice is that a large subset of people seems to be uninterested or extremely skeptical. By and large, the reception of Days Gone has been fine. However, a couple of complaints turn up again and again. So, in response, I try to highlight the most common misgivings people seem to have with the game, and I pose the question whether any of those misgivings could turn out to be a problem for Days Gone's success. The operative word being could. So here are the things people got wrong about my video. First of all, I never actually claimed that I personally agree with the complaints. I was merely pointing out that they exist and that they are brought up in countless articles, videos and internet forums. Yet people just assumed that I'm in perfect agreement with each of the complaints, which, to be fair, could be my fault. I was convinced I made myself pretty clear, but apparently for many that wasn't the case. Let me be as plain as possible. I want this game to succeed. I bear the game developers no ill will. Quite the opposite, they seem to be incredibly passionate and likable. I hope their hard work gets rewarded. As I already said in my last Days Gone video, post-apocalyptic survival games are my cup of tea. Settings of this nature tend to be right up my alley. So for my own sake, I want this game to be good. Make sense? That being said, and setting my personal opinion aside for a minute, let me once again highlight the most commonly mentioned problems people seem to have with Days Gone. Since Days Gone is a PS4 exclusive, people immediately started to draw connections to another PS4 exclusive taking place in a post-apocalyptic universe as well, The Last of Us. Apparently, for some the premise of Days Gone looks all too familiar. In most cases, the comparison of Last of Us is meant as a compliment and insult all at once. The fact that Days Gone gets compared to Last of Us in the first place could be regarded as flattering given the incredible quality and appreciation of this game. At the same time, people tend to accuse Days Gone of lacking its own identity and being too similar to Last of Us. Whether you personally agree with the notion that Days Gone is a Last of Us ripoff, or at least too close to the overall look and feel of Last of Us, is completely irrelevant for the argument I was trying to make. Enough people in the video game press, on online forums and in YouTube comment sections drew exactly this comparison. If you don't believe me, listen to the developers themselves.
Are you sick of Last of Us comparisons?
Yes.
It is kind of a little like it though, right?
No, except that it's a third-person action-adventure game where you're killing creatures that aren't zombies.
Apparently the comparison to Last of Us has been brought up so frequently that they are absolutely sick of it. So yeah, whether you agree or disagree is irrelevant in this context. I don't believe it's justified, primarily because Last of Us is a linear-driven story experience stepping into the footsteps of Cormac McCarthy's The Road, whereas Days Gone is a Sons of Anarchy-inspired open-world game with sandbox elements. I'd agree with everyone who says that Days Gone has enough to set it apart from Big Brother Last of Us. Both games feature a post-apocalyptic setting, infected zombie-like enemies and a grisly, hard-boiled protagonist, but that's about it in terms of similarities. In my opinion, Days Gone and Last of Us are different enough to justify making another PS4 exclusive zombie game. However, all of this doesn't change the fact that quite a large group of people feels otherwise and is turned off by another Sony exclusive zombie game, which could potentially harm the sales of Days Gone, since Last of Us Part 2 is the far more prestigious and anticipated title of the two. That's all I was really saying. The similar setting and protagonist could turn out to be an obstacle for the game's success. Could being the operative word. I'm not saying it already is. The second major criticism concerning Days Gone, mentioned again and again, is zombie fatigue. It's undeniable that there are plenty of zombie games to choose from at the moment, and even more are currently in development, which means it's quite a challenge to stick out from the rest. I'm sure plenty of people are experiencing zombie fatigue and because of that have no interest in Days Gone. But here's the problem. If you are sick of the zombie genre, there's not much Sony Bend can do about it. After all, they were inspired by shows like Sons of Anarchy and The Walking Dead. They are passionate about making a post-apocalyptic zombie game, and they should have every right to do so. So saying Days Gone is uninteresting or disappointing because it's another zombie game can't be considered a particularly convincing argument. This might be true for you, but how are we supposed to inject objectivity into an argument that's completely subjective?
Number two on the disappointing list, Days Gone. Great. You ended the Sony
Generic
conference
zombie game number
with
34.
another fucking zombie game, you know? No,
Yeah.
I don't want to play another fucking zombie game. Tons.
Hey, shit, I want to play a zombie
Yeah,
game?
I knew you were gonna fucking
Hey,
ask me that
I got a
question.
new zombie game. You want to play it?
No, but there's nothing interesting or new. It doesn't seem like it offers anything interesting. What it tries to do is it looks open world. It basically looks like Last of Us
Yeah.
and Uncharted 4 just with zombies. But it's like, wait a minute, okay, what the fuck
What's new?
ever? You know,
What do
what's
you
new?
offer? Nothing.
Oh, the zombies come in waves. Okay.
I don't think it's fair to criticize the developers for choosing a genre. I don't mind another zombie game as long as it finds a way to create its own identity and has some recall value. Now you know how I think about zombie fatigue, but yet again, that doesn't change the fact that a large group of people seems to be sick of zombies. Which is why, in each interview, Sony Bend is so eager to explain why their zombie game is different from all the others. By the way, I think it's hilarious that John Garvin seems to be so insistent on convincing us Days Gone clearly isn't a zombie game because the enemies are called freakers. I mean, I kinda get where he's coming from. Technically, the zombies from Last of Us and Days Gone are infected and not zombies, meaning a clicker or a freaker are not undead and shooting them in the head isn't the only way to kill them. Still, I always found the distinction a little bit silly. Of course people are calling Days Gone a zombie game. I mean, come on. The last point I'd like to discuss actually isn't mentioned online. However, I think it's important to consider Sony Bend's position within the PlayStation first-party studio network. One thing is undeniable. Sony Bend still has to prove its worth among a group of industry giants. As a fairly new member of Sony's first-party family, Sony Bend finds itself surrounded by some of the best game developers you could possibly imagine. In order to match the quality bar of studios like Guerrilla, Sucker Punch, Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, Days Gone has to reach the gameplay standards and polish of games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Infamous, God of War and Uncharted 4, which is one hell of a benchmark. Right now Sony Bend feels like the obvious underdog of the group. They've never handled a project of this magnitude, which is why you should reserve at least a little bit of skepticism and caution. But the same can be said about all the other first-party studios. They all were an underdog at one point. And who knows, maybe Sony Bend's lack of prestige and pedigree, at least in direct comparison to most other Sony first-party studios, turns out to be an advantage. If people enter Days Gone with lower expectations, the game could have a greater chance to pleasantly surprise everyone.
Do you feel like the studio thinks of themselves as an underdog in the game industry?
I definitely think that way. I think that people don't fully understand who we are and what we've accomplished in the past. They don't expect a game like Days Gone to come from us. There may be questions for, how big is it? How real is the Horde? How, is there more to the game than just the Horde? I think that those are questions that people are still asking because there's something about our studio is not known.
There you go, I hope this cleared things up and made you realize that I don't hate Days Gone. Why would I hate or love a game that isn't even out yet? It will be interesting to see if Days Gone can win over skeptics once it releases on February 22nd. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Game Informer's coverage of the game. It's hard to say if Sony Bend did itself a service or a disservice by releasing over an hour of gameplay footage for a game that's still a year away. On the one hand, a more in-depth look at the game may have piqued the interest of people who weren't entirely sure about Days Gone at first. Seeing a vertical slice of the minute-to-minute open world gameplay may have helped to win over previously unconvinced or indecisive people. On the other hand, since we are dealing with alpha footage, the fact that Days Gone still looks incredibly rough around the edges, especially in regards to animation, may have had a counterproductive effect. As far as I'm concerned, the success of Days Gone hinges on the one truly unique feature the game has going for it: the Freaker Hordes. According to the developers, these massive hordes can consist of 1,000 Freakers and are very difficult to get under control. If this particular feature starts to feel boring after a while, the game could be in trouble. Even after having seen over 2 hours of gameplay material at this point, to be honest, I remain skeptical. Not because I think it's too similar to Last of Us or because I'm experiencing zombie fatigue. I hope I made this clear. More than anything, I remain skeptical because everything I've seen from Days Gone thus far looks like a solid open world survival game, but I've yet to see something that blows my socks off. Most of it looks good, but also far from phenomenal. I know it's much to ask for, but Days Gone pales in comparison to the polish and quality of upcoming games like Last of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima. I'm just not convinced it will light the world on fire like Bloodborne, Uncharted 4, Horizon or God of War. And maybe it doesn't have to. We are definitely dealing with a luxury problem. Sony has released so many mind-blowing exclusive titles this console generation that many are probably a little bit spoiled by now, including myself. Next year we will know if Sony Bend's biker drama is good enough to win over skeptics like me and prove that our concerns were unfounded. Sony Bend is a talented and passionate studio. I'm sure they can pull it off. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize for the 3-week gap between the last video and this one. I was preparing for a really important and difficult, really difficult university exam, which made it pretty much impossible to focus on anything else. But thankfully the hard work paid off. I passed with flying colors, which means I can invest more time in the channel from now on. You can expect to see regular uploads, and if everything works according to plan, I'll finally be able to show off some brand new ideas that should benefit this channel. Since the reception of my God of War video has been so positive, I'm also eager to turn A Love Letter 2 into a full-blown series. The new God of War is not the only game I admire. As many of you know, games like Bloodborne, Witcher 3 and Last of Us, and other games I probably haven't mentioned yet, also belong to my all-time favorites. So the next couple of months should be interesting and bring the channel forward. I know I've said this already, but thank you guys so much for your support. Your feedback motivates me to keep improving the channel. Have a good one.